Hello everybody, it's Tom Seidner, and today I wanted to make this video on 5 unfortunate trends in board gaming. So in board gaming, just like anything else, good things happen and bad things happen. And this list here is just a list I put together of things that I'm seeing in the industry that I consider to be cons as far as the industry goes, and things that I wish would change, and hopefully maybe over time they will change. If you guys have thoughts on things that you think are going in the wrong direction in board gaming, please put them in the comments below. We can have a good discussion about it, and if we get enough topics down there, maybe we'll make another video that discusses some of the things that you guys feel are going in the wrong direction in board gaming. But let's go through my list. I just thought you guys would enjoy this. This is going to be a quick video, and let's see if we can talk about some things that might need to change. So number 5 is apps. So one of the big trends over the last few years is integrating apps into games. And there's some games that do a wonderful job about integrating apps into games. The one that comes to mind the most for me is the Journeys to Middle-earth, the Lord of the Rings board game that pretty much 100% utilizes an app to maneuver you through the content of the game. Now, the thing is, I don't mind a game that has an app that's like a companion app, something that can be added to the game, and the game still functions as intended without the app, but you can add the app and it gives you a little more functionality. I really like that. One of the best ones that does that is Hero Quest. Hero Quest has an app that you can use with the game. The Hero app takes the place of the Dungeon Master, and if you want to play it solo, it works wonderfully to let you play it solo. It's a little cumbersome because you have to move the figures on the board and you have to move the figures on the app, but other than that, the app works wonderfully and it adds functionality to the game that you would normally not have. And this is good because inevitably, and I've been a computer programmer for years, I've taught computer programming classes, and inevitably I can tell you that every computer program that's ever been written eventually will no longer function. It will no longer function because the hardware becomes irrelevant, or because the program is not, beneficial anymore. But for some reason, all pieces of software are going to sunset. And the problem is, if you make a game that only functions with the app or the software that goes along with it, then eventually that game is going to be useless. These game companies, they say that they're going to have support for these apps for, eternity, but that is not true. One really good example is I got a new tablet. I wanted something new that was a little more up-to-date and a little more efficient and faster and better, and now I can't run my Road to Legend app that goes with Descent, the second edition. Now, I know that it's just a supplement, but it's a supplement for somebody like me who plays most of their games solo that I really need. I contacted them about it. I contacted the developers of the app, and they say, well, we're not going to modify that program to work with new hardware. Okay, so that's very discerning for me, because these other games that I have that require the app to actually play the game, what's going to happen as hardware gets newer, and these companies are not going to upgrade their software to work with the new hardware. I can understand if your hardware gets old and they're coming out with new versions and the new versions don't work with the old hardware, as long as they allow you to keep the old versions of the software so that you can run on the old hardware and the new versions run on the new hardware, I can understand that. But when new hardware comes out and their applications don't support the new hardware, then this is a big issue, because now as you upgrade your hardware, you're sunsetting out of some of these games that you're never going to be able to play again if that app is there to specifically let you play the game. So I think if these companies are going to use apps in their games, and especially if these apps are going to be an integral part of that, then they need to offer some way to run that game even if that app is no longer available or no longer functioning. So that's number 5, apps in games. Okay, so number 4. Number 4 is a big one that I'm seeing a lot lately, and that is reduced support for the games. One of the big trends that happened several years ago that's been kind of a downturn in board gaming, I believe, this is my own personal opinion, and you can put what your opinion is down in the comments, is a company called Asmodee bought up a bunch of game companies, CMON being one of them, but there's a ton of them. There's a ton of them under the umbrella. You can go out there, you can look at all the game companies that were moved under this umbrella as Asmodee. And they've implemented a lot of things in the board gaming community that I don't think are good implementations. They've done a lot of things with pricing. They've done a lot of things with people who sell board games being able to advertise sales on their items and stuff like that. But the newest one that they've come up with is they're really dropping support on their board games. I purchased a board game. We live in a small town, and we do not have a board game store in our town. We do have one that's fairly close, and it is a really good board game store, a really good retail location, but it's about 40 miles away, and it's fairly expensive. It's pretty much full retail on all the games, and so I buy games from them just because I want to support my local stores, the closest one to me, but I don't buy everything from them because it comes at a premium. So we have a board game store that's about an hour and a half away, almost 2 hours away, and that's in St. Louis, Missouri. It's a big one. It's Miniature Market. They have a huge online retail store, really good store. Every time we would go to St. Louis to have a day in St. Louis, I would always be like, I want to stop at Miniature Market. I want to go there. I want to buy some stuff from them because they have really good prices. So the last time we went to Miniature Market, I bought Massive Darkness 2. It was almost $100. I think it was like $95 was the game. It's a huge game with a bunch of minis. It's a CMON title, and CMON is a really good company. I love their games. In fact, I love Massive Darkness 2. It's really fun to play. Have enjoyed that game immensely. But when I opened the package, when I got it home, 2 hours drive back home, when I opened the package, I realized that one of the rings for the characters was missing. So the game comes with 5 rings of different colors, and so 5 people can play, and you can put the different color on your character, and then you'll know which character is yours, because sometimes when you're playing you want to be able to quickly see which character is yours. So when I got home and I opened the package, I only had 4 rings. I was missing the red ring, and I thought, oh, no big deal, I've had this kind of issue before. I'll contact Cool Mini or not, let them know that I have a missing red ring. They'll send me one. I've had companies in the past send me pieces to my games that were missing, because these things happen. I mean, you can't expect a mass market game that's going out to thousands of people to always have every part in there. So I contacted CMON, and I received a reply from them saying that they no longer support their retail games. They only support missing items in Kickstarter games. They said you will need to contact the person that you bought the item from, and they will be able to give you a replacement part. Well, this is not exactly true, because Miniature Market does not have boxes of replacement parts for these games. This policy, by the way, is an Asmodee policy that they are implementing among all of their games and all of their umbrella of game manufacturers. So if you want to get a part for a game, if it's missing when you buy the game, you must go back to the retailer that you bought it from. Now, I live almost 2 hours from Miniature Market, so I didn't want to pack up Massive Darkness, drive back 2 hours to get another copy of Massive Darkness, which they probably don't even have in stock, and then drive back 2 hours for a little red ring that should have come with the game. So inevitably, I contacted Miniature Market. I told them my situation. I figured, well, maybe they'll, somehow have a ring. Maybe they've got an open box version of the game, but they did not. Or maybe they would give me some kind of discount on the game since there was a missing piece in the game, but they did not. So their solution was bring it back and return it or nothing. And this, I feel, is very, very bad customer service. And to be honest with you, I love Miniature Market, but I will not go there and buy games anymore because it's not worth it to me to go and buy a game that could possibly have missing parts, get home, and never be able to replace those parts. Now, to this day, I don't have a red ring for my figures in my Massive Darkness, which I paid full price for, full retail, did not get a discount of any type. And so, this is something that's really soured me. I used to make it a point to stop at Miniature Market when I go to St. Louis. I will not do that anymore because why not just buy from Amazon? I can buy from Amazon. If I get the product and I have a missing piece, Amazon will pay the shipping to ship it back to them, and more than likely, they've probably got another copy in stock that they're just going to send to me. So this trend of reducing support for these games, I think, is a very, very bad trend, and I hope that if enough people have these issues and enough people talk about these issues, that large corporations like Asmodee will be forced to change the way they're doing this. So if you have run into this kind of issue, if you run into the same issue with Asmodee products, please put that in the comments below. Let other people know. So if enough of us bring this issue to light, then, this could be something that they may change their policy on. I believe they should go back to the policy where you contact the manufacturer of the game and they send you a replacement part. Those companies have replacement parts laying around. They made the game, they manufactured the game, they packaged the game, and so they should have parts for the games laying around, or at least have games that they've opened that they can take parts out when other games have missing parts. So that's number 4, reduce support. Number 3 is a trend that you don't see that often in board gaming, but you do see every once in a while, and that is blind boxes. This is something that's become really apparent here with the new Star Wars Rivals game by Funko Games, where they want you to buy blind boxes to add to your game. Now, we're all board gamers. We're not Funko collectors. And board gamers a lot of them are completionists. And a lot of us board gamers, we don't have friends that are buying the same games as us. In fact, with my game group, we try to buy different games so that we have a larger variety of games to play. And so whenever we buy games, we're often asking each other, hey, do you have this game? Okay, I'm going to get this game because you don't have this game. Or, which games don't you have, so I can look at some of these and see which ones I want to get. And that way we get to play each other's games, and we have a lot more variety when we have our game nights. So a lot of times we don't have the same games, and we're definitely not buying games so that we can trade figures with each other. It's just not really a trend in board gaming. I mean, I remember back a few years ago, one of the really popular games was Crossmaster. Crossmaster had kind of a sort of blind box, but on the box, in little small letters, it said what was in the box. And so you could purchase what you wanted. I mean, the thing is, people are going to purchase what they want anyway, and so it's really better to just let people know in the board gaming industry what is in the box they're buying. You want to have boxes, little $5 boxes of figures that, people can add to their game, that's fine. But if you put the names of what's in the boxes, you're going to actually sell more figures, because there's a lot of people who are going to be turned off by the fact that they're buying something that they don't really know if they're buying something they already have or something they don't want or don't need. So introducing blind boxes in the board gaming industry, I think that's a real problem. If you want to, blind boxes are okay for the collectible industry where kids are just buying figures to be collecting, and maybe they're all buying these figures and trading them with their friends. This actually makes a lot more sense. But in the board game environment, I really don't think us as board gamers, which a lot of us are adults and not kids, are really wanting to have blind boxes as an option in our in our board gaming endeavors. Now, if you guys disagree with me, if you guys think that blind boxes is a good thing, put it in the comments below. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just me. Maybe I'm just an old codger who doesn't really like this trend. But if this is a trend you believe is a good trend, put it in the comments. If you believe it's a bad trend and agree with me, put it in the comments so that maybe we can influence some of these board game companies to not do these things if we don't like it as a group. All right, that's number 3. Number 2 is incomplete games. So I've noticed a big trend here lately of games being sold that are not complete games. And I understand 100% why this is happening. I know this is happening because the price of games are getting expensive. These companies want to make it so that, you know, you'll still buy their game even though it costs a lot of money. And so they're making incomplete games and they're selling them so that when you buy it, you find out after buying it that you need more pieces to actually play the game the way it was intended. Now, I want to make sure that I note that I'm not talking about games that have expansions. Let me say one game that's out right now that's a good example of this. Star Wars Shatterpoint. Now, Star Wars Shatterpoint, that's an expensive game. It's like $150. And to get into the game, to buy the base game, it's $150. But at least the game comes with enough stuff in the game to actually play the game as intended. It comes with enough crews so that you have a crew for one person and a crew for another person and all the measuring things and all the dice and a bunch of terrain, and they charge $150 for it. So they're very upfront with the cost of this game. This game is not a cheap game. If you buy it and a bunch of expansions to go with it, you're easily in the $300 range probably, but that's fine because they're not hiding that information from you. When you buy Shatterpoint, they're offering the expansions, they're offering the base game, and if you buy the core game, you're going to be able to play that game. You're going to be able to go to the table, play with a friend, and play that game. That is not the issue I'm talking about. The issue that I'm talking about is games like, let's say, for example, God Tier. So you buy God Tier, they have starter boxes. You buy a starter box, you get 2 crews in the starter box, you get the tokens and the board, you get the dice and all of that stuff, but the game was not intended to be played with 2 crews. In fact, there are some crews that are wildly unbalanced, and playing with just 2 crews, there's some crews that can't beat other crews. So in order to actually play that game, you really need to buy a starter box, and then you need to buy 4 expansions to go with it so that you have a total of 6 crews, 3 for one person and 3 for the other. Now, this is expensive, right? You're going to buy a core box. I think the core box retails at $50. You can get them for about $30, right around $30 on sale, but they retail for $50. And then your expansions retail for like $30. You can get them for about $20, but they retail for about $30. So even the sale prices, you're talking about over $100 for a core box and 4 expansions. And these companies they're actually just hiding the actual cost of this game by doing this. And the thing is, I think as board gamers, a lot of us board gamers are adults. A lot of us work. I don't think a lot of kids are buying a lot of board games. Maybe their parents are buying them for them, but a lot of kids are aren't buying board games. So a lot of us have income. We make decisions based on how much things cost and buy them, and a lot of times we buy games that cost over $100. So I think that these game companies really need to start, putting these games out in packages that allow you to play the game, straight out of the box the way it was intended. I really, really, really give props to Shatterpoint for not breaking that game up into 6 boxes where you buy the core set and you get nothing but, they could have said, hey, to make this affordable, we're going to sell this core box, which just has rulers and dice and terrain, and we're going to charge $50 for it, and then we're going to make you buy 2 different sets of crews and we're going to charge so much for this and hide all that $150 cost in this broken up, sale of parts. And I'm so happy that they did it, because Shatterpoint's a game that I'm really interested in, and I want to buy it, and I am going to save up my money, and I am going to buy the core set, because I know that when I plop down that $150, that I'm going to be able to play that game out of the box. Now, if I want to add some more crews, like I want to add some, Darth Vader or something like that, then I know I'm going to have to pay more money to do that, but I know that I have a complete game when I buy it, and I'm not buying a partial game. So I think that the trend of hiding the cost of a true cost of a game inside a bunch of packages, or just selling games that do not have what you need to play them, in a box that's called a core set, I really feel like that is a trend that I hope stops, and they just sell the games at the purchase price that the game should be and move on. All right, and so that leaves us to number one. So the number one disturbing trend in board gaming that's been going on for a long time now, this is not something that just happened recently, are boxes and box inserts. So I know I'm picking on God Tier a little bit, but this God Tier is definitely not the only game, and Steamforged Games is not the only company who is doing this trend, and it drives me insane. And so this is my number one pet peeve about game companies, is their box designs, their insert designs. Now, the first thing, there's several subcategories in this, and so I've broken it down into these, and let's go over some of these subcategories. So the first one is ineffective inserts. So ineffective inserts are inserts in core boxes that don't hold the core materials. So, one of the things is, as gamers, we sleeve our cards. A lot of us gamers spend a lot of money that we've talked about. The expense of them in these games could be upwards over $100. So we want to keep our games looking pristine, but we also want to play them. And we want other people to be able to play them. And I don't want somebody else playing my game and putting their soda down on the table and having it sweat and having it run one of my cards. So I sleeve my cards. And it drives me insane when I go to sleeve cards and then put them in the original box, and the original box may have a place for the cards, and the cards don't fit in the original insert. There's a game called Unmatched. It's a game that I like to play. I have several sets of it, and I've always bought the sets, sleeved my cards, the sleeve cards fit in the box, but then all of a sudden, Restoration Games put out a set that the sleeve cards didn't fit in. So I've got all of these sets with their cards fitting perfectly, and then I have a insert that came with one set where the cards don't fit in there sleeved. So this is something that I really wish that game companies would be more cognizant about. Now, I know there are some game companies that are really cognizant about that, and they have beautiful inserts, they have things that hold tokens perfectly. They have things that hold sleeve cards. They leave enough room to sleeve your cards, so when they're sleeved, because they take up more room, they're bigger, and so on and so forth. So not every game company is falling into this category, but several game companies are. So the original insert that comes with the game should at least hold all the game pieces that come with the original game and sleeved cards. That should be a minimum. Some of the other things that are happening with inserts is, look at this insert. This is the insert from Steamforged Games. This is the most ineffective and inefficient insert that you can have. The box, here's the box. The box is fairly large. This is just the top of the box, but the box is fairly large. I have all the figures from all my God Tier stored in the bottom of this box. And this insert is absolutely useless. It is made to hold 5 figures and a couple cards. If you look at the bottom of this, all of this space is completely useless when this is in the box. This will only hold what it came with. This huge box. Now, of course you can take this and you can chuck this to put a bunch of things in the box, which is what I'm going to do, but why not make an insert that is tailored in a way that it will hold the items that it has for shipping, but also be useful for other things. This is just a waste. And this is plastic. So this plastic is going to get thrown in the garbage. It's going to go into the landfill. If you're one of those people who are really worried about the environment, this should concern you, because all of these are going in the trash, because this is not useful for anything. Another thing that's a huge problem is this window box design with no window. So if this would be okay if this had like a plastic cover on it so that you could still store things in this box, and if the box accidentally gets turned over, everything's not going to go falling out. But this is absolutely useless. This is the window that comes with this box. And as you can see, that's perfectly fine right there. But this window attaches to this piece of plastic that's useless. And so this piece of plastic is going to get thrown away. And this piece of plastic is not going to protect anything you keep in this box, because it just falls right out. So they would have been way better off to take a piece of plastic, which is probably about half this size, and just glued it into the top of this box lid. It would have saved plastic, which this is going to end up in the landfill as well, and it would have made this box at least useful to hold, pieces of your game when this is thrown away. But this is a terrible trend. This is something that these companies need to get away from. Not to mention that this box is way, way, way bigger than it needs to be. The figures and the cards that came in this would have fit in a box probably about a third of this size, easily. And if you wanted to keep your figures in this, you could keep them on the shelf. I'm not going to keep my figures in this because this takes up a lot of real estate. All of us board gamers have multiple games. We have probably on average 20, 25 games for a basic board gamer. I have over 500 games, but most basic board gamers don't have as many games as me, but I bet you on average most board gamers have 20 to 30 board games. This takes up too much space. If you have 6 of these expansions, this takes up way too much space. This box, if cut down to about a third of this box and still viable for holding the figures, would have been better to keep on the shelf, and I might have kept these boxes. But because these boxes are so big and they don't really fit on the shelf, all of my figures are in one of these boxes, and guess where the rest of these are? In the landfill. Now, I hear people complaining all the time about the environment and about, we're going to be dead in 12 years if we don't change our ways and all that stuff. And I don't buy into all that garbage, but I'm going to tell you what. If you do, this and this and this should infuriate you, because I'm going to tell you that all of this is going to end up in a landfill. And it's going to stay, these things are going to be there until your children are my age. So anyway, this is the #1 disturbing trend in board gaming for me. Please let me know in the comments what is the #1 disturbing board game trend for you. Let me know if there's any that I missed. Let me know if you don't agree with my opinions on these, because that is the part of our society that is probably the thing that makes us better than the animals, is the fact that we can disagree with each other. So if you disagree, comment. If you agree, comment. If you have anything else that you would like to bring up in this area, comment. Go out there. If you like this video, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and I will see you in another video.